Barbie, we've seen a lot of reboots and remakes lately of horror films, and I thought this was such a brilliant kind of meta way to take a very controversial film and subvert expectations. What did you like most about how the creative team here took on Faces of Death?
Yeah, I mean, remakes are pretty tricky, especially with IP. It feels like everyone, that's like what they're trying to do is just kind of remake something that did really well and hope that it does as well as it did before. And with Faces, it felt like a completely different take on getting IP, and it felt like a really extremely smart script by Issa and Danny, like in the way that it's almost not a remake at all. In fact, it's just kind of a reimagining and using IP to have a contemporary take on society as a whole right now and have a conversation about what was shocking 30, 50, 40 years ago and what's shocking now and what society, where we have devolved to with violence. And so for me, what was really exciting was that it wasn't just a remake of a horror movie. It was a retelling of it's a completely original horror film that has this historical film in here that like informs what the conversation about the contemporary film is. So it felt like a really interesting way to go about it. I don't know if I would be extremely interested in doing a remake of something that worked, 20 years ago and just redoing it the same beat for beat. I don't know if that's like what I would be most interested in. And so with Faces, what was so unique was that the script itself had nothing to do with the gore tape that is Faces of Death, but instead incorporated that in a bigger message of like where society has moved from the late 70s to 2020s when we're like in a algorithmic society where everything is just violent videos, violent clips. It's access to every single bit of the weird corners of humanity at any time. You can go and watch weird like security camera footage of nothing like on a website. It's just like the internet has really opened up so much about our fascination with the darker parts of life and being part of this new wave of just constantly being bombarded with really traumatizing imagery and videos. And so I thought it was really, really cool the way that they used existing IP in a completely original way in Hollywood, which is always.
Yeah, and this film, really tackles like how we've been desensitized to violence really well too, which is really interesting. And Dacre, your character is really putting on a performance for social media. Like this film is very modern, and he has this need to feel vindicated and celebrated by an audience. There's a really funny scene where someone says it looks like a student film, and he gets upset. Well, what did you find most interesting about this character and in his search for praise?
Yeah, one of the real life, people that Danny asked me to look at was Elliot Rodger. I don't know if you're familiar with him.
Oh yeah, the
Yeah,
incel, yeah.
yeah, like the king of the incels. This idea for need for praise and attention, combined with someone who is quite smartly, I think, packaging, this idea of playing into the kind of attention economy, as sort of said in the film. Like he is smartly playing into society's fear to get likes, to get views, to get attention, which isn't so different from anything a lot of people are doing at the moment, which I think is why he's a sinisterly relatable character, like he just is. And Elliot was interested. I was really interested in him as a sort of archetypal character, a human being, to study because he was posting his stuff on YouTube, his videos, of him saying how he felt about stuff for views, for likes, for girls' attention, to try and one up all of these kind of like guys he perceived to be these awful, toxic, masculine kind of individuals. And I'm always interested in like the villain's crusade. What is their crusade? What are they on the hunt for and to achieve? And Elliot, there just seemed to be a lot of crossover between him and Arthur, which I felt really, fascinated by.
Yeah, that is really fascinating. It didn't click when I was watching the film, but I can totally see where Elliot Rodger would play in there. That makes total
Yeah,
sense. And
yeah.
Barbie, you share a couple of scenes with Charlie XCX. You even call her the C word during one particular one. How's it just filming with her? You're probably the only person that got to call her that and, wasn't punched afterwards.
It was amazing. I've known Charlie for a long time now. We're both like Tumblr girls, and to watch her career just fucking, I mean, she's one of the most talented musicians of our generation, and she completely recreated hyperpop and has defined this generation for her music. And now she's like a prolific actress. Like, hello. I mean, this woman, I feel like, to the likes of like Cher and Barbara Streisand and like the pop stars who are also stars. It's like it's such a cool thing to watch a modern pop star do that, and her foray into indie cinema and the projects that she picks are so cool. This was her first acting job, so I was shocked that she even wanted to be a part of it. I remember being like, "Oh my God, Charlie, like that's so cool. Like that's a huge get, you know?" Like I was like, "Oh my God, she's like one of the most talented musicians of our time." And for it to be like at the precipice of Brat and kind of right before Brat and seeing her flourish in such a great way and being this like voice of a generation, as Lena Dunham put it in Girls, it was so cool to see. And so I mean, I love Charlie. She was incredible. It's so cool to see her outside of her element and like on the stage because she's such a powerful, powerful performer. I've seen her countless times on stage. I love going to see her past couple albums. I've been to a lot of her shows, and it's just so cool to see her kind of channel that into being this multi-hyphenated just star. And the choices she's making are really, 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 really cool and smart. And I think just with her indie movies and doing the festival circuits, it just like is really sick. And I'm so happy she's part of Faces Death. That's like such a cool lore.
Yeah, it's really awesome. One of the great letterboxed follows as well.
Oh
She
yeah.
is, and Dacre, you're wearing a mask in some of these scenes, and you've got a face stocking on. How do these help you get in the character, or how was it filming with that physical aid?
Yeah, I mean, it's all like this tactile, tangible thing that I want to be able to feel and touch those elements. The biggest thing that helped me was, I don't know if you like saw, but I wear it's like a Skims like cat suit thing, and I wore it the whole film, like under that black shirt, and it made me feel that he's this obsession, like via Faces of Death, and the obsession with making that, bringing it back with mannequins. And this idea of the mannequin being sexless, like, I think is interesting to him. I think this idea of being this kind of like eunuch kind of thing, and especially this like Skims thing being like this, the epitome of like kind of a masculine beauty, like this masculine feminine beauty thing. I don't know, I was really fascinated by it because Arthur strikes me as a guy that's kind of like rebuilt himself. He's gone to the gym, but he was probably really skinny and scrawny growing up, and he's made a bit like Elliot Rodger. I mean, he would criticize these men that were like Adonises, and would say, these are the worst kind of guys ever. Like, these guys just fuck chicks and fuck around and do whatever. But I want to be, in a way, them, right? Like, that was the whole thing. He wanted to just have attention from the women on campus that he so tragically, went and killed all of these people. And the mannequin for me was a way in for both Faces of Death and to this idea of like perceived beauty, this idea of like this flawless skin like glass, like unaffected by any kind of pigmentation or anything, this thing of like this kind of odd, disgusting, kind of slinky beauty. And I was like really fascinated by that, as well as, and I'll end on this, the compression element. So it was so tight that it was like you could hardly breathe. And I found that really interesting to act with. It was so tight on my body. And so I felt like that. I felt this trapped thing, this suffocating kind of idea. And I was like, oh, that's really interesting to explore. So I did wear it when you couldn't see it on screen because I just thought it was very helpful for me in identifying constant touchstone. It's like if you're supposed to have a limp and you put a rock in your shoe, so you never forget, and then you're not really acting. It's that touchstone for me of like, I wear this thing and then I never forget because I can't really breathe. So
That
I was
makes
also wearing my
total sense.
skins under my costume. So we were doing
yeah, yeah.
seasons.
Oh yeah,
I
that's
have a little
right.
skins
You-
bodysuit too.
yeah, the bodysuit. And that's the thing. It's like, it's interesting. So I don't know. They take from that what you will, but
Yeah,
yeah.
that's very interesting. I love how thoughtful you both are. Congrats on Face's death. I really enjoyed the film.
Thank you so
Thanks,
much.
Tyler.